Another aspect that is very important but usually does not get enough attention from event managers or getting forgotten in the very beginning stages is the drawing standards and requirements for the development of design documentation. It is a well-known fact that overlay layouts and operational maps are different from venue shop drawings, and the production of those maps is, in fact, the adaptation of incoming design drawings. Because of that fact, the existing or absence of clear and detailed standards creates a huge impact on the design and planning process from the very beginning. Implementation of proper standards is mandatory from the very first steps in events development. To be more specific, I will give an example. The host country technical team that provides event schemes uses design documentation, which was produced by design contractors of the respective venue. Clearly, the designers of a venue have another goal and commitment, namely the delivery of the project-related documentation as per the contractual obligations. And it is absolutely natural that these designers do not care about the standards for the preparation of graphic documentation for a single event. Usually, it means that the design documentation is what it calls heavy, contains a huge amount of information that is not needed for event schemes, and is difficult to use in general. As a result, the host country technical team has to devote time and effort to adapt the incoming design documentation, which is needed for the production of specific event schemes. Moreover, it must be constantly redone once the updated shop or base build drawings are getting issued. Without drawing standards, the production of an event schemes is simply impossible to do effectively. An ideal scenario is the inclusion of the standards in the contract with a design contractor for the development of an adapted design drawings package as per provided event standards. Thus, it is possible to achieve not only one-time production of base layouts for event schemes, but also the only efficient way to keep updating base layouts with already applied standards in the situation of constantly changing or improving conditions at a venue construction site. It is also necessary to highlight the operational activities of functions in the process of operating the event. This is the cornerstone of any major sports event. Functions that are responsible for operational activities ultimately ensure the hosting of the event in general. In this regard, can be highlighted a huge number of service personnel, volunteers, stewards, security officers, transport workers, IT support, and many others. Obviously, for the implementation of all functional operations, it is required to plan a significant amount of temporary infrastructure at each official venue or any facility that is needed, which is far beyond just sports venues themselves. So, in addition to providing an overlay and design solutions for the event infrastructure, functions require support in the form of various types of graphic documentation and operational schemes, which in turn requires the involvement of the same overlay developers. Finally, the legacy is the next very important planning and design aspect. A competent legacy strategy allows the provision of the effective design for new venues and infrastructure facilities and the efficient adaptation of existing ones to the event's requirements. A one-time big event requires significant infrastructure that, in turn, should not affect the efficient and economically justified operating of the sports facility after that event. The lack of a legacy strategy has become a problem for a number of countries that have hosted major world events such as World Championships or Expos. The feature of the FIFA Football Championship is hosting different groups of matches, which implies various amounts of spectators. Considered capacities are around 45,000 for the quarter-finals, around 70,000 for semi-finals, and 80,000 spectators for final matches, respectively. Obviously, for host cities that are not intend regular hosting of major sporting events, even a 45,000-seat stadium could become a serious burden in terms of its maintenance. In addition to what was just mentioned, it should be minded that the requirements for any major sports event are very specific and are basically not applicable to an effective legacy strategy. I will give an example. During the preparation for the World Cup in Russia, FIFA requirements were used to justify changes in the design of stadiums and their adaptation as per FIFA requirements. It was done in order to avoid additional budgeting for overlays provision inside the stadiums. However, in the case of prioritizing effective architectural planning, the implemented approach was a short-sighted solution by managers who needed to solve bureaucratic issues. The result of this approach was that the internal spaces of the stadiums were divided into many small areas for the FIFA operational staff. Surely, in such a situation, it is more efficient to use open spaces in the layout of the stadium. Such open spaces in legacy mode can be converted and effectively used for a variety of functions, starting with office spaces and ending up with entertainment areas for the public. At this point, that generic analysis should be brought to an end. In subsequent reviews of individual stadiums, I will try to cover in more detail certain solutions and types of schemes for different facilities and functions.